So I'm Frederick Nick, CTO at Dressipi. We provide online style advice to retailers, so these are some of the partners we work with. And what we're doing is enabling them to provide, personalized advice throughout their site. That means a couple of things for us. Some of these are some wallet dresses that would look great on me. They suit my body shape, they match the colors that I like, and sort of the behavior that I've been exhibiting. Outfits, if I decide that I like a product, I'm looking at it online, I might want to see things that will go with it. So, how might I turn that top over there into a great kind of a work look or an evening look or something a bit more casual. We provide personalized email service for our clients, so we'll provide them with the raw data, so instead of sending out one new season email which has the same 6 products that goes to 1 million customers, you could be sending out 1 million emails sending 6 different products to each customer, and we provide them the data for that. And then we also provide style advice. We don't believe in just shoving products down people's throats, buy, this has been discounted, buy it now. We think if we give people the right advice on how to dress their shape, how to be confident, how to look good, then that will empower them to be happier customers, buy things because they're not nervous about it looking terrible, return less because they didn't buy the wrong thing to start with, and generally be happier, more profitable customers. There's a lot of things kind of happening in this general sort of fashion retail space. So there's lots of people like British Brands or peers that will enable you to have banners on your site with various recommendations. There are quite a few companies doing straight-to-consumer recommendations, and then obviously it's the big incumbents, and whether they're very big retailers or companies like Amazon or Google Shopping or so on, are also obviously trying to solve these problems.
Cool. So from a machine learning perspective, we are in the recommender system space. So this is like a very ballparky figure of like what's hot in recommender systems. So 10 years ago, roughly, it was movies, Netflix challenge. Then it was music, Spotify and Pandora, big companies, made it. And now it's fashion. And maybe you've heard of Stitch Fix. It's a massive company now in America. They do this B2C, they send you a box of things and you like it. If you don't like it, you send it back. And we're in this space as well. So in recommender systems, fashion is the newest big thing that everyone's trying to get into. So why is it different? Why can't we just use the Netflix movie recommender and just plug it in and it'll be fine? Well, so one problem is this new item problem. All the garments, they're only around for a couple of months and then you can't buy them and they're not going to make them again. So any data you had on that specific thing is now useless unless you can apply it to something new. New garments arrive frequently, and trends. Trends are massive. So if let's say someone doesn't like a floral dress or floral dresses in general, if there is a trend now that the biggest celebrity now says this is cool, they will go and buy that floral dress. So trends have a massive influence and much bigger than in other domains. There's also expert knowledge required, so there are objective do's and don'ts, so some things just don't work, even if the data says they do. And the next 2 things are quite unique as well. So the customers don't know what fits them sometimes, and this is why they actually come and ask for style advice. So if you look at what have they been buying, well, they've been buying exactly the wrong thing, so maybe you shouldn't base your model on that. And also, sometimes they want a style change, and if they say, I now want a complete style overhaul, it's the opposite of what your model says that they should be recommending. So it's quite unique things that we have to deal with. So I'm just going to talk a bit about the data. So we have some user feature data, garment features, and interaction data. So the user features is this quiz, so these questions we ask when people sign up for the style advice service. They cover various things. This is from colors, body shape, personality, all sorts of questions. We have garment features, so we have a team of people who actually label garments with a lot of much more features than I've shown here. And then this is how it all comes together. So you have your users and items in the middle and the interactions, so purchases, views, likes, dislikes. This is sort of the traditional recommender systems data you have. But then on the left, you have all the user features. On the right, you have all the item features. And the interesting thing is finding all the connections, so you can find out, people of a certain age, they're really, I don't know, like young people like bright colors or whatever. So it's you can find out these interesting things. So how do we do it? So we developed these algorithms pretty much from scratch, because the things that work for movies don't work for us. We have real stylists in the company to guide us to what is important. We have academics working with us doing research projects, and we have rigorous evaluation, which is probably one of the most important things. And now Fred.
Yeah, so I'll tell you a little bit about outfits, because that's something which makes it quite different than normal product recommendations. So an outfit, just things that go together. Needs to be kind of complete, as in just a bag and a shoe, they might go together. That's obviously not an outfit. And we want our outfits to leverage everything we know about single product recommendations. So I should love all the items in my outfit, the colors should be right, the brands that I like should be there, that kind of thing. And you might think, hey, well, this is just like when I buy a TV and it says buy this HDMI cable. And it's not. One very simple thing is people very rarely actually buy outfits together. They buy a dress over here and a jacket over there and so on. And then the relationship between the products is a lot more complicated. It's things like, here's this dress and it's kind of maybe slightly bland, but with the right accessories, it kind of elevates it to something that would look good at some kind of fancy evening of it. It's a lot more complicated than just, oh yeah, buy a soundbar to go with your TV. Something we found is that the minimal viable product is a lot harder than single product recommendations. With product recommendations, you could start with something very simple and unpersonalized, just something most recently purchased type stuff, and you can start to add small amounts of personalization. With outfits, the simplest thing, which doesn't look terrible, which doesn't have color clashes and feature clashes and so on, took quite a lot of time to get there, and needed kind of quite a lot of expert advice from our stylists. And there's still lots of things that we don't entirely understand about the interactions between garments and in between outfits and how customers perceive them. We think we're doing a great job of online recommendations, but most people buy most of their clothes in store. So we've got a mobile app that we've just launched that kind of takes some of this online stuff and brings it in store. Obviously, we want to work with more retailers and have access to a greater portion of that shopping behavior. And then we want to go beyond purchases. Even the most avid shopper, they're only buying clothes a few days or a few weeks a year. So understanding what people are wearing, how often they buy stuff and never wear them because they bought it and it looks terrible. That's where we kind of want to go. And yeah, so we think we're doing lots of exciting things. We're a small team. We compete against much bigger teams and bigger companies. And we can see when we're winning, which is all quite cool. And probably out of time now.
Any questions?
Any plans to go into augmented realities? So rendering the clothing on people, because that would solve a lot of issues that people have with buying online.
So actually, there are a couple of companies that have done things like that, and trying to get a better kind of virtual showroom type thing. I think the balance between creepy and useful is quite difficult to get right. It's not something we're looking at ourselves really, but it's certainly an interesting area. And we, ideally, would love that smart mirror that would show you exactly what things would look on you and how this outfit will come together for you. It's not a direction we're kind of pursuing at the moment.
How do you implement both machines learning output with somebody from the outside? Like, how do you combine the two together?
So the stylist advised machine learning. With a lot of work. So part of it is the stylists are a little bit more didactic, and that the stylists are kind of just like, no, you definitely cannot wear this. Whereas this will look terrible. Whereas the output from the machine learning tends to be a bit more nuanced. It's like, this thing is better viewed from that thing. So often, if you just take the things that you can sort of combine the two like that. But it does vary, and sometimes the two are a bit contradictory. The customer has been clicking and on looking at lots of things like that, but the stylist says, actually, this is really bad. We largely take the view that if the customer is doing something, but the stylist says the opposite, that we should be giving the customer the honest advice and not letting them continue in possibly a trap of they've been buying these things because it's what they've always been buying, and not knowing why it doesn't look good.
So do you weight the goodness of fit then, basically?
Yeah, it's kind of like the stylist kind of has kind of final veto on those things. And you know, the stylists also talk a lot to us about what we're doing and the output we produce, and telling us when we're being stupid.
Cool. Thanks.
Hi, do you have noise in the data, like people buying gifts or buying clothes for someone else or using the same account, or do you mitigate for those?
Oh my god. Yes. So this is a massive problem in all online shopping. I mean, yes, people using the same account, people using different devices, and you know, how do you know it's the same person? So we have done a lot of work on the cross-device stuff. The thing with people using the same accounts, we don't really care that much about it because it's not, I mean, compared to different devices, it's a much smaller problem. So we only do like very rudimentary. If there is contradiction information, then we'll kind of figure out it's not the same person, but we don't really spend much time on that part. But you know, we spend a lot of time on, if they use different devices, finding out that they're actually the same person, so like matching them rather than splitting them.
Across different retailers as well.
Yeah.
Going back to the stylist question, do you try and encode the stylist device as, you know, like an expert system or that sort of thing, or have you got a stylist in the loop at all times? I mean, I mean,
absolutely, we're trying to encode the stylist thought process and trying to understand why would you recommend this garment. But, you know, if someone came to you and said, "I'm dressing for a wedding," what questions would you ask then? You know, that shows up in some of our sign-up quiz data, and also kind of what things would be very important to you. You know, is it brand? Is it color? Maybe actually color doesn't really matter because a user knows which colors they like, and the advice that they need to get is brand. Or maybe actually again, people know brand, so maybe it's more around some of the feature level things.
So what sort of system are you encoding that knowledge in?
So the stylist, there's kind of an homegrown kind of rules type system that handles a lot of the stylist advice, and some of it is kind of not so much encoded in software, but in the things that we're thinking about when we're writing the algorithms.
Cool.
Is your recommendation algorithm based purely on the tagging of the garments and the items, or do you actually visually capture the image and do algorithms on that?
So I mean, we don't use the actual image. The recommendations are based on the labels of the item, the interactions of the user and the item, and the answers that the user has given as to their preferences and their lifestyle. So we don't do any purely image-based stuff at the moment. We have tried looking at, you know, using image recognition to extract these tags, but it's actually, I mean, it's proven. So we've tried to hire companies basically to do this for us, and the results weren't good enough basically to use it in production at the moment. So we don't do anything with the images.
Thank you very much. Round of applause.